Yo, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Contender Regime Boxing checking back in with y'all, man. What's poppin'? Terrence Bud Crawford recently in an article, man, he came out and, pretty much put it all on the table and spoke about a lot of the things that we talked about here on Contender Regime Boxing plenty times, regarding the whole Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford fight, the business aspect and how this fight can be made, when it's going to be made, what needs to happen for this fight to get made. Also, shout out to Derrick James, man, the brother Derrick James, my trainer of the year. And a couple of weeks ago, he came out and he talked about, how the Terrence Crawford fight financially, it just wasn't there yet. And a lot of the boxing fans, man, really don't understand this shit. Some of them do understand it, but they simply don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just to put it quite frankly. They just don't give a fuck. They understand that this shit is a business. They understand what Bob Arum and Terrence Crawford, what they got going on over there, and why this fight ain't being made right now. But they just simply don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? So that's neither here nor there. But Terrence Crawford, he said, quote, "The fight with Errol Spence Jr. is all about the money." You know what I'm saying? All about the money. Now, what does that mean? Basically, as we've been saying here on Contender Regime Boxing, Bob Arum is looking to cash Terrence Crawford out. As great of a fighter as Terrence Crawford is, as skilled as he is, I truly believe that the brother he got to be the most skilled fighter in boxing. You know what I'm saying? If we just talking about pound for pound, skill for skill, until Errol Spence Jr. beat Terrence Crawford, you know what I'm saying? Or until I see some other shit that shows me different, Terrence Crawford is the most skilled, the most well-rounded, the most versatile boxer in the game. That's how I see shit. As good as a fighter that Terrence Crawford is, though, it doesn't seem to me that Bob Arum believes these things. Bob Arum is willing to go out and, pay all the money that he want to pay to get Lomachenko the fights that he want. He's willing to go and he hijacked Tyson Fury, in the midst of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury setting up the rematch. He hijacked Tyson Fury so that he can get a piece of the pie, brought Tyson Fury over to Top Rank and ESPN so they can, do a joint venture with Showtime, PBC, Fox, all those guys to get that big pay-per-view that we just saw, which did astronomical numbers, great numbers. It was a beautifully rolled out fight financially, and it did very well. And he's willing to do all of this for those other guys. You don't see Bob Arum and Top Rank, promoting Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson got a fight this weekend. I ain't heard shit about it. I ain't heard shit about it. You know what I'm saying? Terrence Crawford, he don't get that same love over there. But it's hard for me to really fight for Terrence Crawford, but it seems that he understands the shit and he's content with it. So if Terrence Crawford ain't tripping, why the fuck should I be tripping? You dig what I'm saying? But I'm going to speak facts when it comes to the brother. I'm going to speak facts, period. But when it comes to the brother Errol Spence Jr., you know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers got to know what the fuck going on. So, Terrence Crawford, he came out and said it's all about the money when it comes to that fight. Now, what does that mean? Like I said, they want to cash Terrence Crawford out with Errol Spence Jr. That is the end game for those guys. That is the big money play, not just for the competitive aspect of the fight, not just because that's one of the biggest and best stylistic and technical fights that could be made in the sport of boxing, not just because of that. Financially, that is the end game for Terrence Crawford. Like the brother Black Fight Fan said today on Trill Boxing Talk. Shout out to 7A Sports TV too. You know what I'm saying? Terrence Crawford's whole career especially when he went to 140 and on his way up to 147, has been built around possibly fighting Errol Spence Jr. We all knew what Errol Spence had the potential to be, and most of us knew that he would reach that potential. Errol Spence is in his prime right now, unified champion at 147, gonna go and do bigger things in the sport of boxing. But we all knew that at one point, all it took for Errol Spence to get the fights that he was chasing guys down to get, and he finally started to get them with Kell Brook, with Sean Porter, with Mikey Garcia, with Lamont Peterson, and so on and so forth. And this is going to keep going. You know what I'm saying? But it only took that to happen for Errol Spence to become what he is today. Unified world champion at 147 in his prime, just turned 30 years old. You know what I'm saying? So we all knew the potential that Errol Spence had, and we knew that he would one day get to this point. And Bob Arum, Terence Crawford, Top Rank, those guys knew that same shit. That's why they built Terence Crawford's whole image around the possibility of him fighting Errol Spence Jr. It's the same shit that they did with Manny Pacquiao with Floyd Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knew Floyd Mayweather was that motherfucker. They knew he was undefeated. Couldn't nobody touch him. Can't nobody beat him. Everybody, he do astronomical numbers on every pay-per-view, broke all the records. And everybody knew that, even people that knew Floyd Mayweather was going to beat Manny Pacquiao, they still wanted to pay to see the possibility of him losing to Manny Pacquiao. They built Manny Pacquiao's career, as great of a legend and as great of a career that Manny Pacquiao has had, definitely put in the work, and he's still doing it to this day. But they built his whole name and image around the possibility of fighting Floyd Mayweather. We seen this tactic and this game plan before. This shit ain't new. This shit ain't new. Now, the difference with Manny Pacquiao is Manny Pacquiao is actually fighting big name motherfuckers. He was actually beating, even though he beat a lot of guys after Floyd Mayweather had already fought him. I ain't tripping on that, but he was fighting motherfuckers. You feel me? He was fighting top guys. The thing is with Terence Crawford, they not going to put the same money and same energy behind Terence Crawford that they put behind Manny Pacquiao, or that they put behind Lomachenko, or that they put behind Tyson Fury. You know what I'm saying? Terence Crawford out here fighting mean machines. He's fighting guys that we already know the outcome of the fight. We know he going to beat them. We know they ain't got a chance in hell of beating Terence Crawford. And economically, it's a cheap way out, because they don't want to spend the money on Terence Crawford to get him in the ring with the guys like Sean Porter, like Keith Thurman. They could have had Keith Thurman. They didn't want to pay him. They could have had the Manny Pacquiao fight. Bob Arum stopped that fight 2 times because Bob Arum just came out again and said the Manny Pacquiao fight, that's a no-go. If you asking me, I would think that it has something to do with, number one, paying Manny Pacquiao the money that he want. And then number two, it seemed like they got more love for Manny Pacquiao than Terence Crawford, because he looking out for Manny Pacquiao's health when you got your asset right here sitting and decreasing in value because he can't get no big fights. You know what I'm saying? So they don't want to put Terence Crawford in there with a Sean Porter because, number one, that means you got to pay Sean Porter. It's a joint venture, just like Terence Crawford said in a recent article. You can go on Boxing Scene, you can go on Three Kings Boxing, you can go on just about any top boxing blog or website, and you can read this article. Terence Crawford said that when you got 2 cross-promotion platforms, you got 2 separate platforms which are both competitors, you know, versus each other. Both sides gotta eat. Both sides gotta get their money. Both sides, it gotta make financial sense for both sides. You know what I'm saying? So that means if y'all want 50-50 over there, it gotta make sense. If they come together right now and make the Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford fight, number one, we know Errol Spence is the A side. Number two, we know Errol Spence he gonna demand the bigger split. You know what I'm saying? He gonna demand the bigger pay-per-view shares. You know what I'm saying? So they gotta be okay with that, but they not okay with that. Top ranking them, they want 50-50 down the middle. Well, how did you get 50-50 down the middle? Well, you go beat Sean Porter. I don't give a fuck if y'all friends or not. You go beat Manny Pacquiao. You go beat Danny Garcia. You go beat a Yordenis Uga. Go beat some damn body to make this shit, you know, to be in a position that you need the fight to be in financially for it to get made. Because like Terrence Crawford said himself, when it comes down to the Errol Spence Jr. fight, it's all about the money. And I'm gonna end the video on this. That means a couple of different things. That means, number one, we don't want to fight nobody else but Errol Spence because we want to cash out. That's number one. Number two, it means that you need to put yourself in a position to where you can bring just as much to the table as Errol Spence Jr. is going to bring to the table, so everybody can it can make financial sense for everybody. That's what that means. You know what I'm saying? Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. Who is Terrence Crawford going to fight next? We've been asking this question for so long and we still ain't got no answer. He's supposed to return to the ring June 13th, and we still don't have an opponent for Terrence Crawford. Errol Spence is scheduled to come back in July. We know he got three options. He can fight mandatory for the IBF. He can fight Danny Garcia mandatory for the WBC, or he can fight a unification match with Manny Pacquiao. That's up to Manny Pacquiao. We know Errol Spence. If Errol Spence had to choose out of those three, he won't Manny Pacquiao. But that's up to Manny Pacquiao. You feel me? But those other two, you know, Errol Spence could choose between those two. You know, so we know what Errol Spence gonna do. Who the hell is Terrence Bud Crawford gonna fight next? Contender Regime, boxing. I'll holler at y'all boys, man.